Hello there. My name is Dr. Darla, and I've invited you here today to help me with something. But first, my colleagues have told me that I'm not silly enough, so I shall start with a joke. Why did a poultry cross the road? To get from point A to point B. Okay, today you are going to be helping me with something called surgery. But before we do the surgery, I need to back up and teach you about the scientific method. Alright, I'm going to be showing you some words that I want you to be putting into your brain while I teach you. In science, we always have lots and lots of questions. That's the first word, question. When we have a question in science and we want to find the answer, we always have to dig in and do an experiment. But before we get to the experiment, there is a process that we follow. First, we ask the question, what is it we want to know? Then, we predict. That's the very next word, predict. What do you think is going to happen when you do this experiment? What do you think the answer is? That's what we do, predict. Then, we may do the experiment. While the experiment is happening, we must observe. Observe means we're listening and looking and taking in all the data of what is happening during the experiment. Now, we're watching for the data, but then we must also record the data. That means write it down or record it in some way that we won't forget it. Well, we should have our answer, but we don't. Because just because something happened one way one time doesn't mean it always happens that way. So we must repeat the process again. That means do the exact same experiment, exactly the same way, recording all of the data again and again and again until we see if we keep getting the same answer over and over and over and over. If you just keep getting the same answer every time, then you can conclude that that is the answer to the scientific question you had in the beginning. Now, we won't be using this process today, but we will be using these words. So I want you to draw your attention right over here. On my surgical table, you will see that I have 4 patients. So will you in just a moment. Your teacher is going to give you the same 4 patients. I also have a piece of paper that says scientific method. It has a place for me to put my name, and it has the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 patients and 4 spots. That's very important. I also have a word bank that has the same words that you just saw, but I don't want you to pay attention to that yet. We'll put that over here. So what's going to happen is my patients need these letters to be surgically removed, it says. Surgery means you're being very precise, very careful. We don't want to make any little extra cut marks on our patients unless absolutely necessary. That means I do not come chomping away from here or here. This is how I do it. I fold my paper over carefully. I don't have to press it down hard, just fold it kind of carefully right over one of those letters, the letter I want to cut out. Then I make just a little incision on the letter. I don't know if you can see it, just a little hole right there. Then I just can fit my scissors in there. Now that my scissors can fit in there, I can cut along the dotted line to remove my rectangle that has the letter in it. I'm going to carefully cut along the dotted line. When I've removed my letter, this was the first patient I did, patient number 1. So I'm going to put this letter right by the number 1. I'm not going to glue it down yet, just set it there. Then I'm going to remove the next letter and the next one, always putting it by the number 1. When all the letters are removed and I have them right here in front of me, I'm going to unscramble the letters to spell out one of those words that I just talked about. Now, I want you to try not to look at that word bank I showed you. I want you to just try to unscramble and think back with your memory using high-level thinking to see if you can create the word. If you're just really stuck, then you may look at this word bank for a clue to see if you can figure out which word it is, or to check your spelling. Once I know for sure I've got the right word and I've got the correct spelling, then I'm going to glue it down before I lose any letter. I glue it all down next to the number 1 because this is patient number 1. Then I will move on. Do the same thing with patient number 2. Cut out the letters, put them by the 2, unscramble, and then glue them down when they say the word I want. When I'm done, I will have 4 words to turn into my teacher. All right, thank you so much for your help.